You did not arrive here by accident. There are forces far greater than you can imagine guiding every step of your journey, and the fact that you're hearing this message now, at this exact moment, is clear confirmation you are a chosen one, marked by the letter M and the crescent moon, and your time has come. For a long time you've wondered why everything seemed so difficult, so unfair, so silently painful. Doors closed without explanation. Friends disappeared. Opportunities slip through your fingers like fine sand. But today, you will begin to understand what was truly behind it all, and what is about to happen will forever change the way you see yourself in this world. You were isolated not as punishment, but by divine protection. You were pulled away from ordinary places because you carry a spiritual inheritance too rare to be wasted among crowds that have not yet awakened. You belong to a hidden lineage, the true spiritual family of the chosen, and that lineage is powerful, abundant, and infinitely rich in purpose, wisdom, and authority. Prepare yourself for a revelation that will shake the foundations of your mind and open your soul to what is coming. You will come to understand that what once looked like defeat was, in truth, the silent beginning of your ascension. The justice of the Most High has already begun to move, and the restoration will be public, undeniable, and divine. If you feel deep within your spirit that this message is for you, write the symbolic number 111 in the comments right now. Let the universe know that you are ready. And if you are not yet part of this spiritual community, click now to subscribe to the channel. This is your space. These are your people. This is your time. Stay with me until the end of this message. What you're about to discover is not just a teaching. It is the beginning of your return. Do you remember the moment everything changed? It wasn't something visible, nor announced. It was subtle, almost imperceptible to the eyes of those without spiritual sensitivity. But you felt it. The atmosphere around you became denser. Conversations shifted. People drifted away for no apparent reason. What once flowed with ease began to feel heavy, stuck, disappearing. And you, chosen one, began to live what felt like an endless sequence of closed doors. Opportunities vanished, allies went silent, and the answers you were searching for were replaced by a strange emptiness. Everything that once seemed within reach suddenly became unattainable. But this transition wasn't a result of coincidence. It was orchestrated, strategic, and above all, spiritual. Yes, the system was manipulated against you. And we're not just talking about human institutions, but about energies, influences, invisible structures. You were surrounded by a silent siege, where every lie spoken against you became another brick in a wall of isolation. Every person who walked away, every broken promise, every sabotaged plan. It was all part of a dark strategy, with one single goal: to try and silence the light you carry. But they forgot one detail. The light within a true chosen one is not extinguished by abandonment. It concentrates, it strengthens, it becomes unbreakable. They thought you would give up, that by being left aside, you would lose your glow. But what they didn't know is that this phase was actually the sacred furnace of your spiritual refinement. While they pushed you down, the Most High was preparing you for a glorious return, and that time has come. You were not rejected, you were hidden. Not because you were weak, but because you were far too precious to be contaminated by the ordinary. Your silence was a divine hiding place. Your lack was an incubator for gifts. And your tears were collected, drop by drop, by the hands of the Creator himself. Now that everything has been revealed, you begin to see clearly. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't neglect. It was the beginning of justice. It was the activation of your calling. It wasn't just an attack. It was a silent campaign, camouflaged, planned in the shadows. While you tried to follow your path, Live your truth. Express your essence. Others were gathering in silence, guided by envy, fear, and darkness. And what seemed like a string of mere misunderstandings was actually an invisible trap being built around you. They used lies as bricks, manipulations as cement, and people close to you as tools. The cruelest part? Many of those who participated in your spiritual imprisonment didn't even know they were playing a role. They were used, influenced, poisoned by subtle words, by suspicious glances, by distorted narratives about you. And just like that, without realizing it, they became part of the strategy to weaken you. But the goal was never just your silence. It was to extinguish your flame, to destabilize your energy. And the most effective method they found was isolation. They took away your sources of support, blocked your access, cut off help. They wanted to leave you alone. They wanted to make you doubt who you are and everything you carry within. But what they didn't know is that they were actually pushing you into the most powerful place in the world, your inner self. Yes, by trying to silence you, they connected you to your essence. By closing doors, they opened your spiritual eyes. And by removing people from your life, they created the space necessary for the Spirit of Truth to speak directly to you without interference, without noise, without masks. They tried to manipulate your image, reverse the facts, portray you as someone you're not. They used the mirrors of deception to distort your strength and make it look like weakness. They called your intuition paranoia. They called your protection coldness. They called your love madness. But they forgot the most basic law of the universe. Every mirror reflects both ways. What they projected onto you is now returning. Every word spoken, every lie spread, every hidden intention is now being reflected back with perfection. And what was once shadow will now be exposed to the light. You were never being defeated, you were being refined. There is a higher law that governs everything, a silent justice that needs no witnesses to act. While men lie, manipulate, and hide, the universe watches, records, and balances. Every action carries a consequence, and every energy, generated good or bad, finds its destination. What they did to you, without you having to lift a finger, is returning. Those who laughed while conspiring, who thought they were untouchable, will now begin to feel the weight of what they created. The very system they manipulated is now turning against them. The roles are reversing. The winds are shifting. And everything that once seemed unfair, obscure, and lost is beginning to align with divine precision. Because there is a right time for everything, and when the time of truth arrives, no lie can stand, no mask can remain, no disguise can resist the light that comes with authority. This is where cosmic justice comes into play. It doesn't need your anger, it doesn't demand your revenge, it acts according to higher principles. And when it moves, everything is revealed. What was hidden comes to light. What was manipulated is corrected. What was taken from you, whether honor, opportunity, or your name, returns with interest. During all this time, the universe was never silent. It was merely waiting for the exact moment. Because divine justice does not act on impulse, but with wisdom. And now, everything that was thrown against you is turning into evidence, proof, documents, testimonies, and revelations. The invisible gears of the universe have begun to turn, and no one can stop them. You didn't need to defend yourself with words. Reality will do that for you. Time will be your greatest proof. And the truths they mocked, discredited, and tried to bury will bloom before the eyes of the world. Because those who are righteous before God are never confused for long. The universe moves by vibration, by truth, by balance. And now that you are aligned with your mission, it is returning everything that was denied to you and more. The cycle of justice has begun. Not out of vengeance, but out of restoration. Perhaps you still wonder why so much suffering was allowed, so much injustice, so many attacks against someone who only wanted to live their truth. But today, with a more mature heart, you begin to understand. Those who hurt you were part of a greater orchestra. They thought they were destroying you, that they were dimming your light, that they were burying your mission, but they didn't know they were unintentionally pressing the keys of your activation. They weren't obstacles, they were catalysts. Unknowingly, they prepared the ground for you to awaken what was dormant within you. Each betrayal was a push in the right direction. Each rejection created the space you needed. Each closed door forced you to look upward. And at the bottom of the pit, where the world abandoned you, that's where heaven found you. They were the ones who pushed you into the invisible, who cast you into the desert, who left you in silence, discredited, forgotten. But in that place, where there were no more human voices, you began to hear the voice of God more clearly. They thought they were silencing you, but in truth, they were opening the channel. They were activating deep spiritual codes, codes that only awaken when the spirit is pressed, isolated, tested. Like coal that becomes diamond only after pressure, like gold that is purified only by fire. You were forged through the very darkness that tried to destroy you, and that is the holiest part of all. The certainty that the evil they did turned into anointing, into wisdom, into power, into authority. They were used not by God, but by the universal balance itself as tools of refinement. The war they waged against you was, in fact, a spiritual lesson. And today you carry a type of light that cannot be learned from books, that cannot be earned with titles, that cannot be copied. Because that light is only given to those who walk through the darkness and do not give up. You are living proof that the greater plan always prevails, that chaos can be part of the process, and that even your enemies unknowingly work to push you into the destiny God had already reserved. Today, they look at you and cannot understand how, after everything they did, you're still standing. And more than that, you're stronger, more centered, clearer, more connected. They never imagined they were feeding the very strength they tried to destroy. Yes, chosen one, your story is sacred, because it was written with pain, but also with redemption. It was marked by tears, but also by light, and that light, now, no one can extinguish. There are invisible laws that govern the universe, laws that time cannot erase, laws that operate with mathematical precision even when everything seems out of control. And one of those laws is clear. What was unjustly taken from you will return multiplied into the hands of those who did not give up. The restoration that is coming to you, chosen one, is not merely emotional or symbolic, it is real, concrete, and tangible. Because what was torn away from you, whether in silence, through violence, or manipulation, will be returned by the same system they tried to corrupt. And here lies the secret. The universe does not return only what was taken. It returns it with interest, with increase, with spiritual update. You do not go back to the starting point, you return at a point far beyond where you've ever been. What once were closed doors now open with authority. The resources that were previously denied to you now flow like waters that had been dammed for far too long. Relationships that were poisoned re-emerge with clarity and truth, and what once seemed lost forever now presents itself with even greater strength. But the true reward goes beyond what the world can offer. Because there is something that money cannot buy, that fame cannot reach, and that human power cannot produce: spiritual authority. And that is what is being restored upon you. This authority comes from a place where few have the courage to go. It is born out of silence, out of pain, out of battles fought in the dead of night, from the moments when no one saw but heaven bore witness. That is why this authority cannot be questioned. It emanates from you naturally, like a fragrance that cannot be hidden. Those who once doubted you will not understand how you got here. They will try to explain it through luck, coincidence, or effort, but they won't succeed. Because what God signs has no logical explanation, it only has testimony. You are that living testimony. Testimony that nothing, absolutely nothing that was lost will be left behind. And that everything that seemed destroyed is, in fact, being rebuilt stronger, wiser, and on firmer ground. Restoration does not come just to console you. It comes to position you, to place you exactly where you should have been from the beginning. Because the time you thought was wasted was actually the precise time heaven needed to prepare you for what is now coming. Some wounds never fade, but instead of remaining as scars of suffering, they become emblems of spiritual authority. And this is what few understand. The true legacy of the chosen is not built upon ease, but upon the rubble of pain and injustice overcome. You were not molded for the ordinary. You were trained in the unseen to carry something few can bear, an authority that transforms environments, that silences lies, that illuminates truths. And this authority cannot be learned in books, inherited by blood, or attained through manipulation. It is forged in the soul, through the friction of resistance. Every dark night you endured has been transformed into wisdom that now guides others. Every betrayal you faced in silence has become compassion to heal those who also bleed in secret. You have become the message itself. And here lies the highest point of your journey. You are not just someone who survived. You have become the map. You now guide those who are still trapped in the darkness that once surrounded you. And this is what the enemy never expected, that the attempt to extinguish your light would turn you into a beacon. You are the reflection of what heaven can do with someone who does not give up. You are proof that the truth, even when suppressed, erupts with even greater force when its time comes. Your legacy is this: the life you chose to live with integrity, with courage, with faith. And now, as the cycle of justice is fulfilled, as the records are revealed, as your enemies reap what they sowed, you rise not with a thirst for revenge, but wearing the mantle of redemption. Because your war was never against people, it was against forces that needed to be exposed so that others could also be set free. There is something that transcends even visible victory in the eyes of men, and that something is the invisible legacy that each chosen one leaves behind while walking this earth. When we speak of divine justice, it's easy to imagine only reparation, restitution, and the return of what was stolen. But there is an even higher, more subtle, and eternal dimension that is activated when a chosen one resists evil, preserves their essence, and remains faithful to their light even under the densest darkness. You, chosen one with the sacred marks of the letter M and the crescent moon, do not carry just scars from battles. You carry sacred codes that become maps for those who will come after you. Every injustice you endured, every lie you exposed through the firmness of your silence, every tear shed in secret, all of it sowed a frequency in the invisible realm that will continue to echo for generations. That is why, at the end of your restoration journey, the most important thing will not be what you recovered, but who you became. The system that tried to erase your identity ended up activating your true purpose. And that purpose does not end with justice fulfilled, it expands. You have been transformed into a living sign. Wherever you go, there is something in your presence that breaks invisible chains, awakens consciousness, and realigns purposes. You have become not only a symbol of divine justice, but a bridge between heaven and earth, an instrument of wisdom that could only be forged in the fire of abandonment and rejection. Do not underestimate the spiritual influence you now carry. Heaven has witnessed your faithfulness. And because of that, there is an anointing over your life that cannot be contained by walls, systems, or human narratives. That anointing is your invisible legacy. And it will continue to open paths even when your feet no longer walk upon the earth. While human eyes focus on losses, wasted time, and inflicted pain, the divine plan operates on a higher level, where nothing is truly lost, only redirected. There is an inheritance being prepared for you, chosen one. and it is not the fruit of human effort, but of the spiritual alignment you achieved through your silent endurance and your faithfulness to truth. Throughout the time you were rejected, ignored, and persecuted, celestial forces were being mobilized in your defense. Doors that seemed locked were only preserved until you were ready. People who walked away were not losses, but filters. Environments from which you were removed were not punishments, but redirections. God not only protected you, He prepared you. And what He prepared is not just restitution of what was taken, but an inheritance that could never have been accessed if you had not gone through the process. You will inherit not only what is rightfully yours, you will inherit what is yours through transformation. Because now you are someone who can sustain greatness without being corrupted by it. You are someone who knows the weight of glory and the cost of silence. There are people who will be entrusted to your care. There are spiritual territories that will only open before you. There are resources that will come without human effort because they are part of an inheritance that has been waiting for you since before the attack. Everything that seemed to have been violently taken from you will now return as legacy, honor, and authority, and this time no one will be able to touch it. This inheritance is not merely material. It includes peace, clarity, protection, and authority over spiritual atmospheres. It includes wisdom that cannot be taught in books, but is acquired in the valley, in the days of silence, and in the secret encounters with God. And now, this inheritance is in motion, coming to you at the exact speed of divine timing. All you need to do is remain positioned. Chosen one. If you've made it this far, know that this is not a coincidence. This message has reached you by divine alignment, at the exact moment your spirit needed confirmation, strength, and clarity. Everything you've lived through, every betrayal, every rejection, every lie they tried to impose on you was a field of spiritual training, a silent refinement that was preparing you for the weight of the mission you are now ready to carry. While many questioned your absence, heaven was preparing your return. While your enemies celebrated your silence, the angels were recording every injustice, every manipulation, every trap set against you. And now, everything that was done in secret will be brought to light. The masks will fall. The doors that closed without explanation will begin to open with authority. The resources that once seemed blocked will flow with abundance, and those who laughed at your fall will watch, in silence, your rise. You were chosen, not to be ordinary, not to live in the shadows, but to carry the mantle of truth, justice, and spiritual deliverance. Your story will be the map that many will follow to escape the darkness. Your testimony will be the answer to afflicted hearts. You are not just one more in the crowd. You are a light lit by the Creator Himself for this time of cosmic realignment. And now, in this very moment, you must take your stand. Heaven is waiting for your full yes. Walk with courage. Declare firmly, I accept the mission, and trust because the God who chose you is the same God who will exalt you before those who tried to erase you. Divine justice does not fail. The time of restoration has already begun. If this message touched your soul, write the symbolic number 111 in the comments as an act of faith and connection with this new phase that is opening before you. Your comment won't be just a response, it will be a spiritual declaration. And if you're not yet part of our community, click now to subscribe. Here, you will never walk alone again. Here, you will be remembered, strengthened, and guided through every step of your journey as a chosen one. Because remember, you are not being revealed now by accident. You are being revealed now because the world needs your light.